Thanks everyone for joining me. We're doing Traveler's Hit List 2023, and I'm with a group of travel women who've traveled a lot, who've traveled a little, traveled for years. So I'm excited to kind of think what we've done for 2023. So we're going to kind of try to keep it to 2023 and share either it might be even a place we live, because I always think that we think we live in somewhere that's not exciting or interesting, but to someone who's never been to where each of us lives, there's usually something interesting about it, whether we're near a beach or we're near neon lights or the desert, whatever it might be. So we're just going to start and go around, and each of us is going to share a little bit about a favorite place that we visited this year and maybe give some details. So if people are interested, they can go check it out. So do you want to start, Kathy?
Um, yeah, I guess my travel's been kind of limited this year, but I did get to go on a small women's group with Michelle. I don't know. Do you know Michelle Chiapas? Anyway, we went to Tuscany,
Nice.
and I went a few days early because I wanted to spend more time in Florence than they had planned. So I went 3 days early and went to all the museums that I and saw all the art that I wanted to see, my favorite pieces and that kind of thing. Sorry.
It's okay. So what time of year did you go to? Was this?
This was in May, and the group met in Florence, and they picked us up in cars and drove us up to a villa near Lucca. I don't know if you know where Lucca is, but Lucca is an old city that was at one time the rival of Florence.
Oh, wow.
And it was famous for its silk production.
Oh, wow.
Very, very wealthy people made a lot of money off of making silk, uh, producing silk there. And so we stayed in a villa up up in a small hill just outside of Lucca, and the complex was a family complex that was built in the 17th century of, I believe, is 5 villas for this family. So each family had their own villa and a gated estate kind of thing. It's owned now by an English couple, uh, all of them, and of course they've been renovated and everything, so they have electricity and running water and all that good stuff. But we had our own private rooms. We had a absolutely wonderful private chef who made us breakfast and dinners, because we didn't have any lunches there because every day we went someplace different, and we had drivers who took us in Mercedes SUVs. It was very comfortable. Uh, we went to we spent part of the day in Lucca and Pisa. We went to Siena. We went to, I always have the hardest time saying this, San Gimignano, and to a winery near there where we took cooking classes and we made pasta,
Oh, wow.
handmade pasta.
Oh, my
None of
goodness.
those pasta machines or anything. We would cut it ourselves and that kind of thing. And we went to the Cinque Terre, and we went to Florence. And then the last day, we went to 3 different wineries, which also produce their own aged balsamic vinegar. And so we had tastings of both wine and balsamic vinegar. And it was really cool. The first place we went to was in a villa, which was the childhood home of the woman who posed for the Mona Lisa.
Oh,
I mean, it was just like, I can't believe I'm in this place where she lived as a child. And it had a beautiful view in the far distance of Florence. It was way up on a hill. Um, so that was my most recent trip, um, where I really had a good time, and I would do that one again because I absolutely love Florence. I don't often go back to the same places again because I have so many other places that I want to go. But I would go to Florence again in a heartbeat because you just can't in a few days. There's just you can just scrape the surface of all that there is to offer that city. And actually, 2 nights ago, I had a dream that I was walking around Florence and I
oh,
was looking for a museum, and I can't remember, from the dream what the museum was supposed to be. But I was walking past all of the beautiful buildings, and you know, um, so I would heartily recommend going to Tuscany if you haven't been there.
wow. Yeah, that sounds magical. Thanks, Kathy. So, do you want to share next, Deborah?
Sure. Well, as you know, I went to London, and I'm still trying to contact your friend. First, she had COVID, then I had COVID, so we've been kind of missing each other. But that was a win in September. It was actually a Paris, London, 3 days in London and then 3 days in Paris. But I was really struck by the scenery in London. Of course, we went to the castle. I desperately wanted to ride the London Eye, but there was just
Oh,
no
yeah.
time, and the times I was available, it wasn't running or this or that, and but we got a chance to go to the theater and see Tina, the play,
Oh,
and that
nice.
was just the highlight of our trip. It was so good. In fact, I'm going again in a couple of weeks here in Houston.
Oh, nice.
But did the hop on, hop off. I don't know, it was just something about London. I just felt really comfortable there. The people were extremely nice. The hotel was nice. The food was wonderful. We went to a restaurant, and the concierge at the hotel says now they're famous for their burgers. I'm like, really? A fancy restaurant? He said, yes, people here like burgers. So sure enough, when we get to the restaurant, uh, people are talking about the burger. And I just refused to order a hamburger. I wanted a nice, steak, but my roommate ordered the hamburger, and everybody around us was saying how delicious it was. And sure enough, to each his own. But I liked my steak, and she liked her hamburger. But it was just everybody that we came across was just kind of drew me in to go back again.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Did
three
you,
days
did you,
was not enough. I'm like, Kathy, you just cannot do it in 3 days.
yeah. Did you get to go to the British Museum at all?
Yeah, we went to the museum, but just there were just a lot of things we just did not have time to see.
I mean, you could spend a week at the British Museum
Oh yeah,
all by itself, you know.
yeah,
Wow. That sounds beautiful, Deborah.
oh
And
yeah. I'm going back. I
now
don't
I'm,
usually
I'm
go
like
back to the
anxious
same
to,
place soon.
yeah, I'm looking to buy tickets. So this is all very inspiring.
Yeah, yeah, I loved it.
Did you
Yeah.
have decent weather while you were there?
It was beautiful weather. Yes, all days, and I was shocked because I expected it to be rainy. Although the weather forecast was for sunshine, but Everybody says, "Oh, it rains all the time," but it was beautiful weather. Uh, the entire 3 days we were there. So I'm hoping when I go back, I have just as good weather.
Yeah, we hope so
Yeah.
too. Definitely.
So,
I
And
think London's on about the same latitude as Seattle, and August and September are the nicest months in Seattle. So that would make sense. You had good weather in September in London as well.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good to know too, because a lot of times August, it can get so hot. But I'm glad you had
Hmm.
good, pleasant weather for your trip, Deborah.
Yeah, we did.
you went to Paris too?
Yeah, we went to Paris. Paris was a little crowded. They were preparing for the Olympics. And so a lot of streets were being repaired and they were blocked off, or it was just difficult to get around because they were fixing the streets or blocked them off to be fixed, or and there were so many people there. It just was hard to get around. But I did visit three champagne houses, and that was just we went to Champagne, France. So it was very nice. I enjoyed that.
Well,
Good.
August is when almost everybody in France takes time off for their own vacation. So,
Well, this was September. I thought everybody would have gone back to work and
oh,
kids would have been in school, but oh my goodness, it was just people everywhere.
Wow.
You know, Deborah, your point about lots of construction because they're doing work for the Olympics,
Hmm.
that just makes me think I need to add something to a checklist, which is check online and see if the city has anything big coming up. Um,
Yeah.
I know when I was in Dubai, a number of years ago, they were getting ready for some big, like the G20 or, one of those.
It sounds like one of the races or something.
Well, it was a political thing. It was
Oh,
like a bunch of world leaders were coming in. And so there
Oh,
was so
yeah.
much construction and it was with all the sand and the dust. I mean, it was still, nice, but and we couldn't have changed it because that was a stopover on the way to somewhere else and we just extended for a few days. But it does make a difference, especially
Yeah.
if you're there for 3 days and you're kind of like, traffic, I can't
Right.
get down that street. So I'm
Right.
going to try and remember to kind of look into that when planning.
yeah, we
Yeah.
should we should add that to planning because I think too, even for cities here like Vegas, I mean, when the F1 with
Oh,
the
yeah.
construction, the Formula One race that they ran right down the strip, I mean, they had bleachers up. You couldn't see the Bellagio fountains except for a little area in front of the Venetian where you see the beautiful water pools and the reflection, and it looks like Venice and all that. They covered it all over with plywood and more bleachers for the race, and they were putting blackout screens even on the pedestrian walkways. So
Oh, wow.
even at night, to see the pretty views with the lights and the everything that you think of as far as the Las Vegas Strip, it was really obstructed. And I'm sure for a lot of people, if you weren't coming to spend that kind of money for the race, it would impact your 2 or 3 day weekend here in
Right.
town.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Deborah.
Hmm.
Lisa.
I stayed a little closer to home. I went up to British Columbia, Canada, to a town called Penticton, and went with a friend. She had those old timey, I think of them like 50s movies, one story hotels that are like in
Yes.
a U shape with the parking in the middle.
Yeah.
There's two lakes up there. Penticton straddles two lakes. And along the shores, at least of the lake I was on, they took all those old timey hotels, they added a second story and then turned the hotel rooms into like timeshare units.
Oh,
So
wow.
bedroom and then they all have a high to bed couch. But they were sold, so they're all owned by individuals and then they can timeshare them, rent them out. So my friend has at one of the units. So we went up there for 2 weeks. I'd never been up there, and it was absolutely lovely. Um, I did get a little tired of just like going to the beach every day, which sounds weird because I used to be the beach bunny when I lived in Southern California, but I was a lot younger then. Our hotel was right across the street from the beach, so it was like 50
Oh,
steps to get to the beach. Um,
wow.
but there was so much walking up there, walking trails everywhere through the city. I found a walking trail that went by all these vineyards and
Oh,
fields of apple trees and corn and you name it, agriculture. And then all along the way on this, it was like an old road, paved road or a gravel road that they had, actually it was a railroad. It used to be a railroad track and they turned it into a trail. Um, there was little breweries and wineries all along, so you could stop and get something to eat or drink. And it was absolutely stunning. We went up in July, so it was hot. I mean, for me, coming from the ocean where it never gets hot, like 92 most of the time
yeah.
we were there. So to me, that was hot. But it was just lovely. We saw some great live music in the little clubs. Um, they there's I think it's a man-made canal between the two lakes, and you can go tubing down those.
Oh, wow.
So there's lots to do outside, or you can just hang out at the beach. It was just absolutely lovely, very relaxing. Um, I did get a little tired towards the end of just walking, and because I walked like 10 miles a day,
Oh,
so I
wow.
did a lot of
Yeah.
walking before it got hot. But then I was like, oh, I don't want to go to the beach today. Well, I guess I'll go to the pool instead.
Right.
It was very, very nice. I have never been to, well, I live in a touristy area on the coast, but just it was up in the mountains. So you had beautiful scenery. We drove to a couple other towns, and one of them had a botanical garden, and they had um, live music there. And so we went up to that. So there was tons of stuff just to drive around and see in little nearby towns. So if you're ever up and looking for a place just to get away, that was really nice, really nice.
Yeah, it sounds unique and just
It's kind
like
of
you
straight up from the middle of Washington State. So
yeah.
that was my summer vacation.
No, it sounds beautiful. And a lot of time and it does sound at least cooler than a lot of parts of the United States are, you're seeing so many hot temperatures in July, like you said. So, when it's 100 plus in Vegas in July, 92 would at least feel cooler.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Which which lakes were you next to?
One of them might have been, one of them was Skaha. I think it's Skaha. That's the one I wasn't on. The one I was on might have been Okanagan Lake.
hmm.
Yeah, my sister and brother-in-law live in Anacortes, and they like going up to Okanagan. That's one of their favorite places.
I was in Anacortes last weekend. One of my absolute best friends lives up there. We've known each other since I think 1983.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, that's fabulous.
Yeah, they have a motorhome, so they like going up to Canada. In fact, they just came back from oh gosh, now I can't remember the name of the place. Something Springs. They went there for Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah. Well, I
I
think
I love British Columbia. It's beautiful.
I really want to go to Lake Louise and Banff. I can't believe I haven't been when I live so close, but
I have never
been.
been there. I would love to do that.
yeah, it's been a long time since I've been to those two places, but as my memory serves me, it was really, really pretty. But I recently went to Alexandria, Egypt, which was kind of a surprise. It's on the Mediterranean. And so for a city, it was kind of a highlight, I guess, of the past year just because it was something different and so unexpected. It wasn't what I would think of as Egypt because of it being on the Mediterranean and the coastline and the architecture has a bit more European influence and the Alexandria Library, I just felt like we didn't get, enough time at all. Or even in Alexandria, we were only there one night, which wasn't even enough time to walk all the gardens and grounds of this hotel, which was, I guess, on the grounds of a palace or something originally. So was very manicured and nice. And, just even to walk, there's a walkway along the ocean. And so I think there's a lot more to that city. And being that I love fish, the restaurant that they took us to, we were up on a second level and it was all fresh fish. I mean, literally, like they had all these fish laid out, and the chef would ask you which fish you wanted, how you wanted it prepared, and they were making the bread right there with a stone oven. So it was all very fresh. I mean, just super fresh. And I've gotten, now that I live in Vegas, we're not as close to kind of the fresh fish. Everything's flown in. So it was just such a delight. And I think because it was just so unexpected, I would consider going back to that Mediterranean area and what borders, those towns, because with all the different cultural influences, they have a lot to offer and explore for curious people like myself.
It's interesting you mentioned Alexandria. I just finished watching on Netflix. I think it was called Queen Cleopatra.
Oh yeah.
I think there was another word besides Cleopatra, but so much of that took place in Alexandria. I thought it was really good.
I'll have to look for that.
History, like, all that stuff from that time period. But I really enjoyed it. It was only 4 episodes, so it was a short little series.
Oh, I like that.
If you have Netflix.
Yeah, thanks for the tip on that. Yeah, because sometimes when you're there in some of these places and you're in and out so quick, it's just kind of overwhelming. So again, if I'd had more time, because you're kind of just thrown at all these like monuments and places, but Alexandria, at least it felt a little bit more relaxed, and just like I said, being on the water, it was really, really pretty. You weren't getting just desert and all of that I guess I had in my mind as Egypt. It's
April, do you get a sense that Alexandria is one of the usual stops on a tour of Egypt, or do they mostly stay further south?
I think if they pair it, I mean, because it's not too far from Cairo, it took us about 3 hours out. I think depending on the tour, a lot of them probably do include it. I think, if I were to go back or do something in the Mediterranean, because some people have told me that Alexandria can be a stop like on a Mediterranean, probably cruise, and I'm not much, like taking the Nile cruise this year was the first time, honestly, I'd ever been on any type of quote cruise boat where I slept on the boat. But it was an experience that was good because I think there were like 40, maybe 44, 46. It was probably an even number of cabins on the boat, and each hallway only had a few rooms. And I know there was only 4 levels on the boat. And again, you could always, with it being a river cruise, the Nile, you can see land on both sides. And so then it was like, this is kind of similar to what maybe, a European river cruise, or, even in the States, I know people have done the Mississippi, or even Pacific Northwest. I think there's one that goes.
Yep.
And the Columbia. Yeah, I've always do that.
Have you?
I wanted to, but I've never gone.
Yeah, I'd be curious, actually. I mean, the food, is, I mean, you're getting a buffet kind of seating as far as food, but there was always plenty to choose from, and I always tried to look for the things that were more local, because you want to try it when you're there, and try. So of course, when you come home, then you can have your American things, but
it's hard when you're on a cruise or on a tour, because as travelers, we want the authentic experience, but as tour operators or cruise operators, they have to be mindful of what American and people from around the world are going to like. I know when I was in Mongolia, the chef told us, this is nothing like what we really eat. We're trying to make a modified version of it, but we don't eat what I'm serving you. And that was, disappointing to hear, but I got it, because she goes, I don't want anyone to be sick. I don't want to tell their friends that they got horrible food. So
that's always one of the risks of going on a tour, as opposed to going by yourself or with a small group is that you end up eating, I hate to say it, at the lowest common denominator. I always remember the time that I went on a Mexican Riviera cruise with a friend of mine, and she's very conservative in what she eats. And we were in Puerto Vallarta, and I was so determined to eat at this one Mexican restaurant that I knew had really good food. And no, she wanted to go to Hard Rock Cafe, and we ended up going to the Hard Rock Cafe and having hamburgers. I was so disappointed. I wanted to go and have octopus or ceviche or something like that, and so yeah, you do have to, and if you go on a big tour, there's always people that if they take you to a local place, they're complaining, that they want to have a steak or they want to have, this or that, fried chicken or something, instead of couscous or something like that. I'm like, you came all this way and you want to eat just like you eat at home, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, understood. Well,
get interested and try something new.
yeah. That's true. Well, I know we all live in various different parts of the United States, and so if we each can share maybe a favorite local place that we, have taken someone or that maybe is a favorite. So if you have something, do you want to go first again, Kathy, or you want to give Deborah the floor first?
It's not so easy anymore because some of my favorite places closed, especially during COVID. Well, informal, not a fancy place, but I always tell people that when they're in San Diego, they have to have Rubio's fish tacos.
Yes,
Yes, that's a good one.
I love Rubio's.
Me too.
Is it Rubio's where they have like the hot dog sandwich? It has a name. I know that sounds really weird, but it's so good. Oh no, that's Ruby's. I'm thinking of Ruby's.
Oh, Ruby's. No,
I'm so sorry. I'm thinking of Ruby's. It's been a long time since I lived there.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't. We don't have a Ruby's in San Diego anymore. We used to have one at the Mission Valley Mall, but it closed.
Oh, they were Ruby dogs. That was it. And I don't usually eat hot dogs, but all these years later, I remember the Ruby dogs.
There's a nice one in Laguna, and they took over the little restaurant that overlooks Crystal Cove off also.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Thank goodness they still have the date milkshakes.
Yeah.
I can picture that place.
Place had when it was independent. But yeah, I like Rubio's fish tacos, and that started in San Diego. I know that they are in other places in California. I don't know. Do you have them in Nevada?
I think we do have a couple here now in Vegas. Yeah. But, again, when you're in California, you want to go to, yeah, it just seems like that's a California thing.
The story behind it is kind of interesting because this guy was a business major at San Diego State, and he was a surfer. He and his friend used to go down to San Felipe all the time to go surfing, and they would get the fish tacos from
Yeah.
the street vendor. And they liked them so much that this guy actually wrote the business proposal to open his own restaurant as his senior thesis.
Oh, cool.
And so he opened the first one down in Pacific Beach, and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Fish tacos are so good. And on Tuesday night, they're uh, they're only $2 a piece. So you can get a deal. And I that's the night I go to Cinema Society in the late afternoon. So I frequently go to Cinema Society and then order with their app so that I can pick up at Rubio's and take it home and eat it for dinner.
Oh, nice. That's great. Cool.
April,
Deborah.
I just looked it up. You have several options for Rubio's in
Oh,
Vegas
okay.
and in Henderson.
Oh, thanks. That's great. Deborah, do you have a place you want to share near you or in the States?
Well, Mexican food is, of course, very popular here in Houston. Uh, and there's so many really good Mexican food places that you can pick from. I mean, there are no less than six on Highway 6 where I live, and they're all very, very good. So it would be hard to say, which one, because they're all, very good. There's a place that just opened not too long ago, Johnny Tamales,
Hmm.
and it's a new place. But I don't know how they all survive, but they're all just as crowded as the other, and margaritas as well. So that's just, I just tell people if you want good Mexican food, just drive up and down
There you go.
Highway 6 or, just about anywhere in Houston. Not a Taco Bell, but
Right.
anywhere else. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're known for. It's just, some really, really good Mexican food.
How
Other
about
other
barbecue? Have you got some good barbecue there?
Oh yeah, there's a place. Oh, called the Pit. I forgot about that place. Yeah. Oh man, they have the best barbecue. There's a new place, Killings. I have not been there yet, so I can't vouch for them. But people say they're good. But the Pit is the place for me. Yeah.
nice. Are there other places to see in Houston that you would recommend or in that area?
To eat.
No, just to go see, like if it's a museum or a site or
Oh, yeah. There's the Holocaust Museum is fascinating. I've been. I missed the last presentation they had was the Green Book and the Holocaust Museum.
oh,
But
interesting.
I've been, and it's fascinating. It's sad. It's gut wrenching.
Yeah.
But every time I go, I see something different, and I just have a different appreciation for the people who were victims of the Holocaust. Um, the Children's Museum is great for kids. I mean, they've got some of everything there. The Science Museum with the huge dinosaurs
Oh yeah.
is good. Discovery Green has built the skating rink for the Christmas holidays,
Oh, good.
so you can go ice skating, and it's all decorated. I mean, every place around here, the malls, all decorate. Katie Mills Mall has a huge outdoor uh, Christmas decorating um, with cocoa and coffee and whatnot. So I understand people are just flocking out there right now. So it's just so much to do.
Yeah, nice.
It really is. Yeah, there's lots to do.
Great. Lisa, I know you mentioned Tulsa. You had to spend some time, unfortunately, there, but
And I've been there a couple times under better circumstances previously. And there's one thing that is there, talking about the Holocaust, just made me think, like in Tulsa, that was where the Trail of Tears was. So, and there's so many different, excuse me, just like where I live, there's a lot of towns and places with Native American names. And there are there as well, many different nations there. But the one thing one thing that's really hits me, and I've been there 3 times now, and I might have mentioned it on here previously. They have an area of town known as Greenwood,
Oh.
which is there was a really horrible race riot, probably about 100 years ago, and they called it a race riot at first. Because then the insurance companies didn't have to pay out for all the damages, but they eventually came to call it a massacre. But there was a misunderstanding. It sounds like a young African-American man tripped on his way into the elevator and bumped into the elevator gal back in the day, and they had an elevator operator.
Right.
It sounds like she didn't make a fuss, but someone else saw it and made a fuss, and the bottom line is white men aided by the police, when there was a section of town called Greenwood, and it was called the Black Wall Street because it was this huge section of Tulsa that was like its own city right next to the other part of Tulsa. They had movie theaters and dance halls and banks and schools and churches, just like a huge city, blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks. And it was firebombed to the ground.
Oh my goodness.
And even like
shot.
yeah.
I mean, it was awful. And I think one of the worst things about it is that it's not taught in history classes or anything like that until just very, very recently.
And the thing that is good is that the city of Tulsa has redeveloped some of that area with signage and a beautiful park, sculptures. It's a thing you can do and walk through. And there's a new museum, but the new museum apparently is funded by Caucasians, and they put it up without much or any advice from African American citizens. So that caused angst again with the races, and so it's very, very moving, very moving. And I've been to Tulsa 3 times, and I've gone to Greenwood every single time. It's just walked around. But they have good food there. One of my favorite restaurants there is called the Big Biscuit.
Oh.
I think it's a small chain. And they truly have massive, I think they're called, like, I have friends from Mississippi, and they call them cat's paws when the biscuits are really big, like a cat's paw, like I guess a mountain lion cat. They have every way you can do biscuits, including like cinnamon roll biscuits, and we went there a lot. It was very good. But there's a lot of Route 66 things in Tulsa. Fabulous coffee culture, which is super important to me.
Yeah.
That's what I love to do. And sports. We went to a lot of there's a couple universities there. Oral Roberts University actually is there, but we went to a couple of the other universities for their women's sports. So that's really fun. I'm sure there's more, but that's what I can think of right now. Really great. There's a couple other areas of town that you can walk around and see old-timey things. And of course, there's modern convention centers and all that, but that's not really of interest to me. I'm more interested in the history and the food and the coffee.
Yeah. Well, that sounds all very good. That sounds
very walkable too, and of course, so flat, which makes walking easy. It's easy where I live too, because it's a sand spit. There's no elevation, but it's just really hot and humid. They don't get much snow in the winter. It just gets really cold. And one of the ladies that lives there said the thing about it in Tulsa is it's just always sunny. It's always sunny and blue sky. I mean, there's rain sometimes, and there might be some clouds, and yes, they have tornadoes, but she said it's always blue sky. And I said, that's what I yearn for. I love where I live, but on the coast, we don't get blue skies. It might not be cold, but it's going to be overcast.
Wow.
So still doesn't make me want to live there, because the humidity is not a friend of mine. I just really struggle to live in humidity. But it's been a nice place to visit.
I've never spent any time in Tulsa. I spent one night driving from California to Chicago. Um, but, we didn't see anything. We just stayed in a motel. But I really should visit it sometime. My dad lived there as a child.
Oh,
He was born in Memphis, and then his family moved to Tulsa, and then he moved back to Mississippi when he was 11. So he was fairly small when they lived in Tulsa.
one thing my sister mentioned was that, and it's a little different from where we were raised in the Pacific, in the Seattle area. Not that people here aren't nice, but everybody is always coming to your door and bringing something to eat, or calling you and saying, let's go to coffee, or
Oh, wow.
it was kind of overwhelmed by the friendliness. And you'd think that would be so nice, but she said it's just so strikingly different. And maybe it's more Southern or Midwestern kind of thing that we're not used to on where I am in the Washington state. And it wasn't bad, but she said it was just so much, so much community, and she's
Right.
like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need. And I'm like, it's not about need. They're being friendly.
Right.
You're just not used to it.
That is true. I think there are places like that where it's just, yeah, we're a little hesitant in a way. Like, that reminds me of a quick experience inside. We went to more than one mosque, but we were at in Cairo, the Muhammad Ali Mosque is what it's called. And when you're in an international country, it's such a different culture and language, and everything is so different. And I think in the United States, we've gotten to also where you're always watching your back, and you assume there's going to be a pickpocket, there's going to be someone that wants to, and there is a lot of that anytime you travel. But when I was inside this mosque, these older women just came up to me, and all of a sudden they just wanted to take a picture with me. They seemed like they were locals. They were all dressed traditional, and they couldn't really communicate, but they other than that, they wanted a picture. And then one of them just wanted to hug me, and it, for a moment, it caught me. And then, and then you have to go with the flow. You just got to like kind of relax, and she had tears in her eyes. She's just like, we are sisters, kind of that understanding that, again, we're of the same universe, the same planet. We may believe something different, or but we all are human. We're and it was an amazing experience.
I was just going to say, man, hold on to that thought forever, because that sounds amazing.
It was just amazing. And she almost brought me to tears, because what little she could say, she was trying to communicate. And then there was someone with her who told me, she's like, she's trying to tell you, and she did say sisters, we sisters. And she kept wanting to hug, and I did. It broke that barrier of like, yes, she recognizes we're both women, we're both here. And she recognized too that I was just trying to be, I had my head covered, I had the clothing, I was just trying to be respectful. I wasn't trying to, other than just to be in that space and kind of take it in. And it stuck with me. That experience just really stuck with me.
Think what it would be like to live in a place or a situation like that, where that's the norm.
Yeah.
We have our norm where we're kind of worried about our surroundings. And for her just to feel so comfortable to do that is
right. And she wasn't asking for anything. She wasn't trying to like sell me a bookmark or a tchotchke or have her hand out for anything. It was more, she just, legitimately just wanted to share that thought and that feeling of like, we all believe we are one, we are, that communication of that. And yeah, that just really stuck with me, because she honestly didn't want anything else, and I could tell that it was just an honest interaction, so to speak, as best as it can be described, I suppose.
You were there during this current war that's going on in the Middle East, right?
Yes.
I wonder if if this was triggered by her desire for peace and wanting the Americans to be supportive of that.
I think it might have been a little bit that we were told, and I didn't see. I mean, there was still a lot of tourists. I mean, there were places where literally you go into like the monuments or Karnak or Abu Simbel, and it's, you're walking into this narrow walkway, and it's just people pressed against you, and people were trying to take a picture, and it would just get so claustrophobic and so hot in there that I could only sometimes go enough way in, and then I just tell my guide, like, I need some air, I can't breathe. But they told me that Americans get so scared, we get scared at the drop of a hat, so American tourism has dropped way off. There's a lot of Spanish, there's a lot of other countries, and so our guide told me, because oftentimes they couldn't always, with a big hat and a scarf, they couldn't always see, but when they saw, like, oh, you're very pale, white face, reddish blonde hair, they don't often see that. Even the kids, a lot of the younger kids too, they were just like staring at you when they got a glimpse of your face. And I guess in some of these areas and some of the poorer markets too that we went through, they don't see that, they're not seeing those people. And so I think you're right. It may have been a reflection of that. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say.
And maybe it's just showing her appreciation for you as an American, that you had come to help support her country with your tourist dollars
Right.
during the time when a lot of people were scared to come.
Right, exactly. Oh, hey, Elaine, thanks for joining us.
Hey.
Sorry about the confusion. We are recording, so you have time. You have the floor for a few minutes to share. We're just sharing our 2023 hit list, so to speak, of a place that we really impacted us, that we enjoyed on a positive spin.
Well, I guess I have to apologize for being late because I thought I was early. I got a message saying that
Oh, sorry.
it started in 5 minutes. Anyway, well, there are many, many places I've been that have impacted me. I mean, those of you who have seen me before here clearly know that I'm absolutely enamored with Morocco. So that's one of the places that clearly has had a huge impact on me, and that's why I organize tours there. But before I went to Morocco, I've loved Europe, and particularly Holland and France, and also Japan. That was another country that I've made a couple of trips to because it was so impactful. I just love the culture, and it's such a strong culture that every minute you're there, you really are pulled away from your own, and you learn different ways of being and seeing and everything else. And so I loved Japan, and my husband was originally Dutch, and so I obviously fell in love with Holland. I had to, but I did. And then France, really on my own. I've traveled there a few times on my own, and those are a couple of places I could go back to. Having been to many others, but those are the places I can always go back to.
Nice. So what was a highlight of 2023 of your travels? Because I know I can't remember even all the places you may have gone to. So.
Well, no, it wasn't that busy a travel year, but Morocco, always go back there, and every time, that's such a deep and rich culture too. There's always something different and new that I discover, and some new insight into the way of life. Yes, always Morocco.
So what time of year did you go this past year? Do you remember?
Back in the spring.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We were also talking about our hometowns and what we would recommend people who come to our area to do and where to eat.
Where to eat? This group likes to eat.
Well, my hometown is about 200 kilometers north of where I live now. So Calgary, And that's the heart of cattle country in lots of ways. So beef is high on the eating agenda everywhere you go. It's a lot more cosmopolitan now than it was when I was growing up there, but we still think of ourselves as beef country. But Calgary is also a city that has seen a lot of immigration. And so one thing that I love about Calgary still is the huge range of different restaurants representing, you know, wonderful places all over the world. And the restaurants are really good quality. So you really, if you go to visit those places, then you find food that's very much like what you experienced in the restaurants. And so it is like a little pseudo trip just to go to a restaurant. And then a lot of people know Calgary most because of the proximity to Banff National Park and Jasper and Lake Louise. And so, yep, the place to go for a really special little getaway is to go to Banff for the day or the weekend or as long as you'd like. Again, there's a wonderful range of restaurants and everything there, and the mountain experience is unparalleled.
Yeah, that's been on my wish list for a long time.
Me too.
You let me know when you want to come and we'll organize it.
Okay.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I'm sorry we got the wires crossed, Aline, but we'll be doing more of these episodes probably throughout the rest of December and just share some of our favorites and record these for others. So thanks again for your wonderful 2023 memories, and take care, and I'll schedule another one of these. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And thanks.
Bye now.